Now, we've been looking at getting to our opponent's back from neutral position. We saw how to get there from closed guard, open guard, half guard. Now let's start looking at the idea of getting to the back from dominant position. So we're going to start with the mounted position. Anytime you're mounted on your opponent, if they just turn in some way, all you have to do is open your knees and you're going to go from mounted position to rear mounted position. So we often make use of this transition. One of our favorite ways to do this is to get a single arm chest wrap where your opponent's arm is taken up and over their head, and then we exert a very specialized form of shoulder pressure. Don't worry, I'll be showing exactly how it works. And we're going to roll our shoulder and make them turn so that they face us chest to chest while we're mounted, and then turn them so that we end up chest to back, ready to start our strangle game. So let's have a look at this. We're going to start off in the mounted position. You guys know that we are big proponents of the idea of walking an opponent's arm up using the ratchet method so that their arm comes into a vulnerable position over their head. Let's quickly reaffirm the mechanics of this movement. First, we have to be able to get some kind of underhook on our training partner's arm. Usually your opponent's in a pretty strong defensive position when you start here. The way we're going to get to the underhook is we're going to get 2-on-1 on our training partner's wrist. We're going to take our hands all the way up to the end of the lever so that we grab the area between the wrist and the hand. Don't grab the wrist and don't grab the hand. Grab both like so. Now from here, we're going to take our head and move it over. We're going to get our head down low and we're going to push with our whole body. Don't have your head up here somewhere and try and push with your hands. You'll never move a strong man this way. Instead, bring your head down and put them in something like an American lock, where you push everything down to the floor and then pin it with your head. From this position, I'm going to take this hand, my right hand, to my opponent's left arm, and I'm going to put my hand underneath his tricep. My second hand is going to come up, and we're going to lock a shoulder crunch on our training partner's shoulder, and I'm going to pin Placido's bicep with my shoulder. The further my head from his elbow, the less tight the pin and the more he can recover. So what we're going to do is bring our head down and get a good pin. So when Placido tries to recover arm position, he'll never do it. I use my head as a base of support. So when he tries to bridge left, my head makes it impossible. When he tries to bridge right, my body position makes it impossible. Now, when he tries to elbow escape, the fact that I'm holding his arm kills the elbow escape. So it's a great way to hold someone initially. Now we're going to take our arm and we're going to put it underneath our training partner's head. And from this position, we're going to take a grip on our training partner's lat muscle so that we have a really good cross face. Now we're going to take our feet and we're going to cross them around our training partner's hips so that when he tries to elbow escape, it's very, very difficult for him to do so. Now, I'm going to start walking his arm up. He wants his elbow coming down. We want it coming up. So we're going to straighten out our arm, and we're going to take a little bit of real estate. I don't want him bringing his arm back and losing all the ground that I've gained. When we're going to take his arm up, I put my chin on his shoulder so that I can lever that arm up and walk. Then I put my whole forearm on the mat. That creates tremendous drag and friction. So that when Placido tries to take my arm back where it came from, he's fighting the force of friction. He's fighting the force of that contact with the mat that makes me feel artificially strong. Now we walk away and take a little more real estate. Again, I don't want him recovering by bringing my arm back. So instead, we put our whole forearm and elbow down. And when he goes to take my arm back, he'll never move me. Every time we repeat this process, we take his elbow just a little bit higher. And when he tries to come back, my arm can only go forward in this method, like a ratchet. It only goes forward and never backwards. There's going to come a critical point where you walk the arm up so far that he cannot take it back. And when you get to that position, we're going to take our arm and we're going to lift and we're going to grab our own elbow, just like so. You can use your chest to restrict your opponent's breathing by bringing your body weight forward and creating a mild suffocation. Now I'm going to use my shoulder and shrug my training partner's elbow on by. You are now in a single arm chest wrap. This is a punishing pinning position. When your opponent tries to elbow escape, it's almost impossible. When he tries to bridge and roll, it's very, very difficult for him. And now we're going to play a trick. From the single arm chest grab, I'm going to take my wrapping arm and I'm going to grab his neck, just like so. So I head my arms like this. I'm going to take one arm out, lift, and I'm going to grab a handful of neck, just like so. Now, with my shoulder outside of his elbow, I'm going to make his body face this way. How? By rolling his shoulder. Plus, I will tell you, it's a daunting thing. You put a tremendous amount of turning pressure. If Placido tries to turn to his left, your shoulder pressure is stronger than his turning pressure. Once this occurs, we're going to staple his hand and get behind his elbow, just like so. As we get into a position like this, we now turn, and find ourselves in the perfect position to be outside of our opponent's elbow and start to threaten the back. From here, we're going to take our hand and grip. We're going to take a figure 4 arm wrap, where we lock up on our training partner's arm and lock everything in place like so. So when Placido tries to recover, his own arm is a lever against him. Now we're going to drive forward with that elbow pressure. Like I want his elbow to point out in this direction. So I lever everything forward and I slide up with my knees. Now we're just going to sit, pull, and turn this guy around so we go directly to our training partner's back. You have now made a smooth transition from front mount to rear mount. There was a lot going on there, fellas. So let's quickly recap all of this so we can do it at will on a tough opponent. Okay, first things first. Your opponent will probably be in a good defensive position. If he's an idiot and his arms are flailing around the breeze, you just go straight into the motor. But no one's going to be like that. So from here, we get a hold of our training partner's wrist. We bring our head down and we take everything over to the side. Mechanically, it's very hard for him to stop this kind of movement. We pin it with our head. I put my hand underneath my training partner's tricep so that as we pressure forward, we get an underhook. From the underhook, we cross our wrists and we lock his shoulder crunch. And we're going to pin our training partner's elbow with our shoulder. So that when Placido tries to get his arm out, it's very, very difficult. We lock up our ankles for additional security and shut down the elbow escape. When he tries to bridge an elbow escape, it's a very difficult pin to work away from. Now we're going to bring our chin to his shoulder. We're going to headlock our training partner, get in a good cross face. We're going to lift and get a handful of lat muscle, just like so. His arm will probably be coming down nice and low. And then from here, we're going to bring our chin to his shoulder and then lift our elbow off the mat and walk. Then we're going to take a break and put our arm down. So when he tries to pull his arm back to safety, it won't move. Now we're going to repeat the process. Take a little more space and then put our arm down. He tries to bring his arm back. The arm won't move because of the friction with the mat. We bring the arm up a little bit more and put our arm down. When he tries to bring it back, impossible. Now we go through, lift, and we get a hold of our own elbow, just like so. Now the critical grip. From the single arm chest wrap, we're going to drive our shoulder forward and clear his arm. And then we're going to take a hand and put it all the way around our training partner's neck. We're going to take our shoulder and put it around his elbow. And I'm going to drive across the body, just like so. So we can expose our training partner's arm. From here, we're going to feed the hand across and take an arm wrap. Now we're going to figure 4 that arm wrap. And we're going to start driving across our training partner's body, getting behind his elbows. You guys know the story. If we're behind the elbows, we can start taking the back. We're going to sit out to the side. And then from here, we're going to pull this guy up on top and scoot around behind him. From this position, we lock up the figure of 4. And now we're right behind our training partner in the perfect attacking position and ready to start our strangle game. So this is a very realistic way to get behind our opponent from a dominant mounted position. Now, we just looked at the idea of using forward pressure to go from mounted position to rear mount. The whole idea is we took our opponent's arm, we walked our whole body up towards his head, we went forward pressure, turned the guy, and that forward pressure took us from chest to chest to chest to back. Now let's look at the exact opposite approach. Instead of us proactively looking to go forwards, we're going to reactively go backwards to get the back. What we're going to do is we're going to give our opponent an ability to go into the single most common and effective escape from the mounted position, which is the elbow escape. We're going to give our opponent our foot, and then from there, we're going to roll in a kind of quasi-berimbolo type action into our opponent's back. So, from a situation where we're mounted on our training partner, the single most common escape to the mounted position, let's have a look at it just in itself, is the elbow escape. The classic elbow escape works in a very predictable fashion. It starts with our opponent capturing our ankle. Then when he gets the ankle, he catches the knee. Once he gets the knee, he moves over to the other side and he completes the elbow escape to put us back in guard. So this is the time-honored and highly successful method of getting out of the mounted position. It's probably the first one you learned. It's probably the one you use more than all the others put together. Now, what we're going to do is take advantage of the fact that the classic elbow escape works in stages: ankle, knee, far hip. Okay? What we're going to do is we're going to give our training partner the ankle. So let's clear out those. We're going to take our feet from together, where it's actually quite hard for Placido to hit an elbow escape, and we're going to open it up and give it to him. Once he takes the bait, we're going to prevent him from going to the second step. The second step is to put my knee between his legs. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a step backwards. We're going to take our knee, in this case it's my left knee, we're going to put it in our opponent's tailbone, and we're going to settle our weight down over our knees, so that when Placido goes to lift my knee off the floor, it's quite difficult. When he goes to complete that elbow escape, very, very difficult for him to do so. Now we're going to take this arm of ours, and we're going to put our elbow on our training partner's lower back. From this position, we're going to tuck and roll. We just look all the way through the ceiling. We tuck and roll, and we put our foot here on the back of our training partner's Achilles tendon. And we're going to make his toes touch the mat. Okay. As his toes touch the mat, we go forward, and we lock up a seatbelt around our training partner's upper body. Now we take our legs through, and we find ourselves now right there on our training partner's back, ready to attack. So once again, from another angle, we're going to go from feet together to open up our feet and give him an easy elbow escape. As he captures the ankle, we're going to take our body backwards. Our knee is going to go right in our training partner's tailbone, and we're going to bring our body back down towards the hips. The exact opposite of what we did in the previous move, where we were pressuring forward and keeping his shoulders on the mat. Now we're letting him take his shoulders off the mat. We're letting him elbow escape. We bring our elbow across, and we put it right here next to our training partner's spine. Now we hit a forward roll, and as we hit that roll, we're going to expose our training partner's foot to the sole of our foot, so we can touch his toes straight down to the mat. Then from here, we end up behind our training partner. It's in a very good attacking position. Once again, training partner is in the bottom mount. We open up our foot, give him a foot to work with, and we put weight over the knee. So when Placido goes to finish that elbow escape, it's pretty damn difficult. Sometimes his elbow will be up here in the way. Don't be afraid to take your thumb and forefinger, perform an elbow pass. Then we take our elbow across, roll through, and send this guy over. We're in the perfect position now to go in and start attacking. One more time. Yep. Placido goes in to hit that elbow escape. Look how I line everything up with my knee, and I bring this knee behind his tailbone. So when Placido fights with that elbow escape, it's not easy. If necessary, we pass the elbow, we bring our elbow down to his spine, We start that roll through action. It exposes his back. It gets us in excellent attacking position and ready to attack our strangles. This is a very practical way of shutting down the single most important and common escape to the mounted position. This creates a really nice dilemma from top mount. Let's explain this now. Yes, sir. If our opponent is passive and perhaps not very set on escaping the mounted position, is just playing a passive bottom game, waiting for us to initiate, we go after him. So if Placido is not really active in the bottom mount, we're going to go after him and walk that arm up until we get this position here. We're going to use forward pressure to go in and take our training partners back. Okay. If, on the other hand, our opponent is really intent on escaping, that's when we react to what he's doing. Let's send this guy through and take his back. We play this game between two ways of attacking the rear mount from the mount. If his back is down on the floor and he's playing passive, we're going to walk that arm up high. If our opponent's aggressively turning onto the side and trying to hit escapes, we're going to hit that elbow pass. We're going to roll through and hit that bolo action and take the back. We're looking at getting to the back from the mounted position. Now let's switch our attention to taking the back from side position. Basic breakdown here. Going to pose the side control. The first thing we're going to ask is, are we going to hit proactive or reactive entries to the back? Most of the time when you're in a side pin on your opponent, they'll be looking to turn onto their side towards you to either get up to their knees or to elbow escape and put you back in guard. Okay, so that's the single most common defense reaction they get. Whenever someone turns up like this, their back becomes exposed on the other side of the body. So if we could move to the other side of the body, you would have a lot of back exposure to take advantage of here. Some of your opponents know this, and so they take a very conservative route where they refuse to take their back off the ground. That has an upside. The upside is now it's impossible to take their back, but not impossible. You said a different method. It's impossible to go behind them and take their back. But it also means it's much easier for us to get mounted on them now. So there's kind of a dilemma starting to build. But in these situations where our opponent refuses to take his shoulders off the mat, still there's a good way for us to take the back. We'll be looking at that very soon. But let's look first at the common situation where our opponent turns into us in order to either get up to his knees or put us back in guard. So we'll start off pinning our training partner just like so, and Placido starts turning up towards me just like so. From here, we're going to bring our elbow over our training partner's body, and we're going to take our hand and we're going to stuff our training partner's head. We're going to take our knee and step over the head, and we're going to take this spare arm of yours and pass it as an elbow block so that the far side of Placido's head is blocked by my knee and the near side of his torso is blocked by my elbow. As he tries to get up to his knees, we now spin behind him. From here, it's an easy thing for us to take advantage of that back exposure. Our hand goes in behind his elbow, so if he tries to reach back and put me back in guard, it's going to be difficult. And my other hand goes in as a thigh pry. Now, fellas, you don't want to stay in this position, because if my opponent catches my wrist, he can roll me through and end up pinning me. So once we get that thigh pry way behind, we always do the same thing, fellas. We're always looking to cover our training partner's hips. Once you cover the hips, there's no more roll through. Your opponent can't take you over. You're in an excellent position now to get hooks in and start scoring on this guy. So let's have a look at this from a bunch of different angles. We have a training partner who's bottom side control, and he's made the choice to come up to his knees. So we're going to take our knee, we're going to step over his head just like so. We're going to take our elbow, and we're going to block our training partner right here. So that as he goes to get up, we're in the perfect position to move. Comes up, we find ourselves in a situation where we can go behind our training partner's elbow, and then there's a thigh pry. And we put our knee up so that we cover his hips. And as a result, you're in the perfect position now to score on your training partner's back, either seat belts or what have you, get your hooks in, etc., etc. The main thing is you've gotten behind your opponent, you've got that chest exposure, and you're behind his elbows. From another angle. Placido does a good job of starting to come up, so we immediately stuff the head and put our knee over the top like so. Now your opponent is between your knees. Now the next thing from here is to get your elbow over as a blocker. so that when he goes to get up, he's held back by your elbow in the hip. Now from this position, we take our hips up off the ground. We take our hand behind our training partner's elbow. And as he fights his way up, we put that side right in. And we cover our training partner's hips. And we're in a good position now to take this fellow's back. One more time. Training partner does a good job of getting up to his base. We do a good job of stuffing the head just like so. Now from here, we take our elbow across our training partner's stomach. And we start that action of turning around the corner. Once we get into a position like this, we continue moving around behind the training partner, and now we're taking our training partner's back. Now, a natural question to ask is, okay, that makes sense. I can see how that works. What if your opponent's really smart? Really fast, and he whips up to his knees very, very quickly, and you're a little bit late getting that elbow block in? No problem. If Placido comes up quickly to his base like so, we're going to put our hand here as a tight waist on our training partner. We're going to block at our training partner's elbow, and then from here, we're just going to bump them right back down to a hip. So if this guy's really quick and just gets up, that stomach whizzer is what holds him in place. I can't let Placido take his hand out and base it out wide on the floor. Then I can't hit this move. But as long as his shoulder's blocked in here, it's a pretty easy thing to return him to his hip. Then when he tries to get back up a second time, your elbow blocks right in there. And as a result, we're in perfect position. You maneuver in behind this guy, bang, get to the back. Let's have a look at that again. Training partners down. We're dealing with a speedster now. And this guy comes up pretty aggressively on us. And he gets up before we can take the back. See how his shoulder's down on the mat? That means he's got no base of support there. So we block it. We'll turn his hips down to the mat to put our elbow across. So when this guy goes to get up, well, it's going to be a lot slower now. Now we're in perfect position to take this guy's back. So that's a very sensible and very effective way of taking opponents back when they turn into you. We just looked at getting to the rear mount when someone was in bottom side control and turned aggressively up towards us to try and get to their knees or put us back in guard or what have you. What about a more cautious opponent who just plays possum with his two shoulders on the mat and refuses to move? How are we going to take this guy's back? Ostensibly, we need to generate back exposure by getting one of our opponent's shoulders off the mat. If he's playing down like this, how are we going to do this? We're going to use the seated method. So, we have a training partner who's down, bottom side control. We start off just like so. We're going to bring our elbow across. I'm going to use my elbow to expose his tricep to my thumb, just like so. This hand here is going to block our training partner's hip, and we're going to move around to something like north-south. From the north-south position, I'm going to bring my wrist up into Placido's armpit, and as a result, we're able now to go into a sprawl position that puts a huge amount of weight over Placido's diaphragm. When he tries to pull his arm out, it's not coming up. It's very difficult. Now we're going to take our bicep, and we're going to put it behind Placido's head, just like so. Now we're going to walk foot to foot until we come up all the way to the head. We're going to drive forward. We're going to grab the figure of four, that arm wrap on our training partner. This exposes your training partner's back. Now we take our knee right to our elbow, and we sit down right next to this fella. We lean over so that we can create an unweighted foot, which easily passes across our training partner's stomach. Now we just hunch in towards this guy, and we come back in the opposite direction. And as a result, we end up right behind our man in the perfect position to lock up a good tight body triangle. Now you're locked in place and ready to attack. Let's have a look at this from a bunch of different angles. From here, I want to pin and control this far arm. The way we're going to do it is we're going to bring our hands over like so, my elbow next to his elbow, next to his ear. I'm going to lift his elbow out, and I'm going to bring my own hand underneath my forearm so that my thumb catches underneath Placido's tricep. This means that when I block his hip and put my head down, I can walk around and settle down to a position where I can easily get my wrist underneath Placido's armpit. Now I just take my knees off the floor and I pressure forward so that there's a lot of sprawl pressure on his diaphragm. I take this hand and I put it behind his head and I block his head with my bicep. Now I just walk until I face the opposite shoulder. I pressure forward. Sorry, Buster, I'm
That's so good.
getting fat in my old age. From here, we grab a hold of the wrist. My God, that sounds terrible. We grab a hold of our own wrist, and then we slide our elbow to our knee, and we sit down. You survived again, Placido.
We got this.
From here, my foot passes across my training partner's belly button, and then hooks on the far hip. Now, a little bit of momentum drags him over and exposes the back. The only thing remaining is to close that loop around our training partner's hips, and we're in perfect position now to start our attacks. Once again,
It's all the steak dinners we have after filming.
that's one way to win a jiu-jitsu match.
John's a big tuna tartar guy. He's really a lot of tuna tartar.
From this position, we start off pinning the head, lifting the elbow, and getting the thumb underneath the tricep. Even if Placido keeps his elbow tight to the body, you can always get that thumb in that winning position. Now we take this hand and we block our training partner's hip. When he tries to move from here, it's a good tight pin. Now we move past the center line. We take our hand up high, and even if he tries to keep his elbow down towards the floor, it's really hard for him to stop that pinning action. And then we drive forward and put that initial pressure on. As he tries to pull his arm free, it's extremely difficult. Now we take our bicep to the ear, and we walk around our training partner's body until we can drive everything forward and expose his wrist to your wrist. Now we grab our own wrist, suck everything in tight, and then we touch knee and elbow together and sit down. From here, we pass our foot across and then sit over into the perfect attacking position. And this is a truly excellent way to take your opponent's back from side controls. In summary, let's quickly understand this. If we're pinning a guy and he wants to escape and he's aggressive about his escapes, and he starts turning up towards us, the onus is on us to put him between our knees. Then we catch him with our elbow. And from here, we start maneuvering around behind our training partner and taking our training partners back. If he's very fast, we may need to add something to this. If he gets up a little faster than we anticipated, then we may have to get that tight waist grip. We block our training partner's elbow, so when he tries to keep his base, we just take him and run him over the tap. But when he tries to get up, then you slow down when we're in the switch position to capture the guy's back. Then, perhaps you've pinned the guy successfully a few times, taken his back. Now he's getting cautious. He doesn't want to expose his back anymore. So you've got to force the back exposures. The way we force it is by getting to that far arm. We lock it in nice and tight, and we use our elbow. Let's have a look at how this works. Placido's got a good elbow position here. I put my bicep inside his elbow. No matter how tight he keeps this bicep, I can always finagle my wrist underneath. And now I put my thumb underneath the tricep, make a strong resistance arm, Placido, and I just lift it out, and the thumb walks all the way inside. Now we take this hand, we block, move around the corner, and we pin our training partner's arm. We put our bicep in behind, we walk around, pin that thumb, turns a figure four grip on the wrist. With that arm wrap in place, it's really easy for us now to turn and expose this guy's back, get into a very good attacking position. Okay? So there you have it. How to take your opponent's back when he's coming up to you, or whether he's keeping his back on the floor. One of the greatest habits that you can ever develop in jiu-jitsu is the idea of maximizing the outcome of your escapes. Most people in jiu-jitsu get brought up with a belief that it's good enough when you're in a bad situation and an inferior position to simply escape the bad position. Get back to the safety of guard or standing position or some kind of neutral position. There's nothing wrong with that. Getting back to a neutral position is definitely better than hanging out in an inferior position, but you can do better than this. The best feeling in jiu-jitsu is when you're getting your ass kicked and in the space of just a few seconds, you completely turn the match around to a point where you were 100% defensive just a few seconds ago, and now you're 100% offensive. This takes your spirits and builds them up like this. You're getting your ass kicked and now you're winning. It's the best feeling in the world. And it's the worst feeling in the world for your opponents. A few seconds ago, they were about to beat you, and now they're fighting for survival. That crushes their spirit while lifting your own. It's one of the best things you can do at jiu-jitsu. So let's look at the idea that when we're in a bad position, understand something. You are just one defensive move away from attacking your opponent's back. That's very important, so I'm going to say it again. No matter how bad the situation appears in jiu-jitsu, you could be getting your ass completely kicked. You are just one move away, one good defensive move from threatening your opponent's back at any given time. Never lose heart on the mat. If you've got a good escape, you can turn it all around in a heartbeat, going from a defensive move, like say, for example, an elbow escape, and then working your way to your opponent's back. Let's have a look at how this might operate. In a situation where we're really getting our ass kicked here, then bottom mount, Placido's got a very, very good position on us. If we can hit a good elbow escape and this guy's feet are in tight together, cross-face in place, we're going to take our feet, we're going to find his feet. Okay, I can't see his feet, so I have to use the tactile sensitivity in my own feet. We're going to separate his feet one from the other. I'm going to put my feet between Placido's feet, so when he tries to recross his ankles, it's tough. Now from here, we're going to look to get our training partner's ankle under our control. So we're going to start by giving a little bridge to the left and then pushing with our frame so we can bring our knee underneath our training partner's ankle. Once we capture the ankle, we lock a triangle around it. And then from here, we're going to quickly lift our training partner's knee off the mat by pointing our knees up to the ceiling. Then we capture that knee. As soon as we get to this position, the first thing we do is we take our elbow and we connect it to his armpit. If I stay hanging out here, Placido can take an underhook. And then from here, he can get all the way back into the mount again. So the first thing we do is we put our elbow to his armpit. So when he tries to pommel to an underhook, he'll never do it. If I put my hand on his chest, he can pommel inside. The one place he can never pommel inside is elbow to armpit. Then we're going to turn everything over to the other side. And you guys know what we like to do from here. We get a hold of our training partner's weights. We perform the lower leg shift. And then we get a hold of our training partner's hip right there where the buttocks meet the hamstrings. Once we get to a position like this, it's a relatively easy thing for us to start coming up into all those positions that we talked about earlier. And then from here, we're just a short distance away at any given moment. So taking our training partners back and turning it all around, okay? All the moves that we looked at from bottom half guard will kick in your favor now. Any one of them will work. You're just one elbow escape from turning this match around and going from total defense into total offense. So we're getting our asses kicked, bottom mount, but our minds are staying strong. We're understanding, hey, just one good defensive move, and we can turn this all around very, very easily. So we start that action. First, his feet are connected. We've got to unconnect his feet. So we use our feet to find his until we get our foot in the center. Then from here, we start that little bump action. It's our knee underneath our training partner's ankle. Lets us lock a triangle. Then we capture our training partner's knee. We'll start that action of turning over to the opposite side. As he tries to put weight on us in this position, we're always looking to get into that lower leg shift, which enables us to pop up. And from here, so many ways for us to take our training partner at that. We saw a bunch of them earlier in this video, lifting around our training partner and getting to the back. And what have we done? In a matter of seconds, just through the application of one or two moves, we've gone from total defense into offense. Okay, so always have faith in your ability to hit a good elbow escape and take it right back into your opponent's back. Don't be satisfied with just putting your opponent back in guard. Only be satisfied with the maximal outcome. And the maximal outcome of jiu-jitsu is always taking your opponent's back. So when you hit that elbow escape, don't be satisfied, oh, and I put him back in guard. No. As soon as you get that underhook, start battling around, turn it around. He was kicking your ass 5 seconds ago. Now it's time for you to kick his ass. One more time. This guy's mounted on us. We've got our defensive frames in place. First things first, his feet are connected, crossed ankles. We find his ankles, separate them. We put a foot inside them. So when he tries to recross, it's very, very difficult. Now from these situations, it's relatively easy for us to capture his ankle. Once we get the ankle, then it's all about the knee. Once we get the knee, it's always about the armpit. And it's from these situations that it's relatively easy for us to start that action of coming up on our training partner. And then from here, there's our attempt to get to the back. Okay? This is how you can turn what appears to be a lost cause into a winning situation in a very short time frame. Now, do you remember when we did the elbow escape that a big part of it was you getting your elbow to your training partner's armpit so you've got your underhook? One of the big themes of this video is that if we're going to take our opponent's back from half guard, getting that underhook is a big part of what we do. Now, what if you've got a skilled opponent? Maybe you've hit the move successfully a couple of times, he's starting to figure things out, and this starts to hit. We hit our elbow escape. So first we separate got to cross your ankles, Dean. First we separate our training partner's ankles, and then from here we hit that classic elbow escape, we capture the foot, and then from here we capture the knee. The whole thing was to get our elbow in here. What if we're a day late and $1 short, and this guy takes an underhook? It's like, oh man, now my elbow escape doesn't do me a lot of good. He can just remount from here. So what are we going to do? We're going to use a knee shield. We're going to take our hips, we're going to slide out, and from here I'm going to take my knee, I'm going to put about 1/3 the length of my shin inside my training partner's hip. So when he tries to use that cross-face pressure, he can't do it. And as a result, we can easily finagle some frames inside our training partner's collarbones and break his upper body grips. Now when he tries to put weight on us, it's impossible because of the knee shield. As we see our training partner play in these situations, you know a bunch of good ways to take your opponent's back from positions like this, okay? We saw the idea of elbow posts into 2-on-1. We saw the idea of going underneath an opponent and from here taking him over with a knee lever, and as he goes to resist the knee lever, taking our training partner's back. We saw the idea that from a knee shield type situation, you got control of your training partner's wrist. It's not that much of a big deal just to come through and start dragging our training partner's arm and take our training partner's back. We saw that from any situation where we have a knee shield in place, we can always raise the height of the knee shield, and then from here use our leg to move his body weight over, and then you're right back into your tight waist series. Once we get into that tight waist, you guys know what to do from here. There's so many ways for us now to take this guy's back and start exposing the back and getting back into offense. So once again, actually we'll demonstrate on this side. From here, there's going to be a battle for the underhook after your elbow escape. So we're always looking to get our training partner's feet separated. We're always looking to get our knee through underneath our training partner's ankle and lock an initial triangle. As our knees point to the ceiling, his knee comes like magic off the floor, and we stuff it between the legs. We'd love to get this every time. But your opponents are tough, they're good, they're resourceful, and they often get it and score that underhook where they can put a lot of pressure on you. So our whole thing from here is to elbow escape out and then take our knee and finagle the knee shield inside. Don't put the whole knee in. Just go shallow. Here. Now from this position, as he puts pressure on us, we're just going to take push with that knee shield. We're going to put our forearm in front, and from here we can easily hold this guy off and get into good positions to counter attack. One of our favorite things to do from here is always to get some kind of wrist control on our training partner. Now it's going to be relatively easy to get behind an opponent. If you can't beat the elbow, a good way for us to work here is to take the knee shield higher and connect knee and elbow up here. Now we use this scissoring action to force his body weight over, and now the whole elbow comes through underneath our training partner into the perfect position, come up into the tight waist. And it's from these tight waist situations that we saw a bunch of good ways for us to start locking up on our training partner and moving behind and getting towards our training partner's back. Okay? So this is how we deal with an opponent that has a good knowledge of the top position, works to an underhook. We use a knee shield to kill his underhook and get to his back. Now, a favorite way of escaping from the mounted position, often used by my students, is a kipping escape. That forms a really nice juxtaposition to the elbow escape. Whenever one is not working, you can almost always go through to the other. The kipping escape often results in leg lock attacks. That's certainly one great way to attack your opponent out of a kipping escape. That's not the only way. You can also threaten your opponent's back. So we have an opponent on top of us in the mounted position. We're going to start off with our hands in place as he locks his ankles in this position. He's probably got a crossface on us in here. We're going to start by taking our hips and moving an opponent out to a given side As the weight goes out to the side, we're going to start a kipping action with our 2 knees in behind our training partner's buttocks. We're going to kip, and bring 2 knees inside our training partner's legs. If we bring 1 knee in, then we're going for ashigarami-based leg locks. When we bring 2 knees in, typically we're going for some kind of upper body attack. What we'd like to do here is get our opponent floating on our 2 knees, just like so. And from these situations, it won't be hard for us as we start floating underneath an opponent to get hands underneath, like so. And from situations like this, one of our favorite things to do is a duck under, where we take 2 hands to our training partner's lat muscle, we bring his body weight over our head, and I take my head and I look like I want to see the ceiling. I don't want to be looking up into his chest. I take my head and I peek out to the side so I can physically see the ceiling. And then I shift him out of misdirections. And as a result, we end up right behind our opponent's elbow. When he tries to recover from here, very, very difficult because my ear is on his back. Once my ear touches the back, we take this hand, we put it on the floor, and start battling for height. And as a result, we get right behind our opponent in good attacking position on the back. There's a lot going on there, so let's have a look at this again. Training partner's on top. He's got his cross face, got his mounted position, etc., etc. From here, we bring our knees up and we start an action where I pivot from one side to the other to get his weight moving. And then once he's on 1 knee, we start kipping. We bring 2 knees inside and we get this guy floating like so. Now we put 2 hands on the lat muscle. We bring his body weight over us. We bring our head out to the side. We start that action of sitting up. From here, my hand goes across and forms a good connection to our opponent's body. It's not wrong to switch off here to the head. That creates a better trap for your opponent, but it's not essential. Now from here, we start moving out to the side. And at some point, we're going to put this hand on the floor while our ear is connected to his back. The further my ear from his back, the more he can recover from this position. So it's important from in here that we come up behind our opponent. We're in a good attacking position. So once again, training partner is in the mounted position on top of us. First things first, as he locks up, we've got to get this guy onto 1 knee. How do we do that? Oh, I move to one side, I rock over to the other. He's on 1 knee already. I take him back, and now he's even more so on the right knee. Now we just kip. We bring 2 knees inside. It's from this situation that we give a quick thumb and end up behind our training partner's elbow. Remember, it's always about beating the elbows. Here we're beating the elbow by ducking it. Now from this position, come around the corner, we get to our grips. As I'm looking across to my training partner's far shoulder, it's hard for him to recover. There's a battle for height. We move in behind our training partner, and we're ready to attack now on our opponent's back. So, once again, opponent's gotten into the mounted position. The way you're going to be successful with your kipping escape is by putting all your opponent's weight onto 1 knee. So the way we do this, we'll often start with a bridge. Sometimes we start with this rocking motion. We bring 2 knees inside. Now from here, hands on our training partner's lat muscle. Everything goes up and overhead. The head comes out to the side like so. Now we start that action of getting a hold of our opponent. So we've got height, and now we're behind and ready to attack the back. Okay? Now, you might be saying to yourself, I'm not the most athletic guy in the world, and coming up like that might not be easy for us. Don't worry. Got a bunch of ways to take your opponent's back from here. Here's one that the older guys might like. From that same situation, our opponent's on top. We start an action that gets us underneath our opponent. Instead of us coming up behind our opponent, we're just going to throw everything through to come up into the classic half guard type situation. And it's from here that we can come up into all the half guard moves to take the back that we saw earlier. All of them are very, very effective ways of taking our opponent's back. So you can always kip and then change off from butterfly guard to half guard and use all the moves that we saw earlier. If you feel it's hard for you to spring up off the floor, that can certainly be a good option for you. Here's another great option. Same kipping escape. If you're not the fastest guy on the planet, maybe not the most athletic guy, from these situations, we start that same action like so. This time, when we go to duck our opponent's arm, we're just going to come out. We're going to lock here with a karagatame. With that karagatame, you're behind your opponent's elbow. When it's time for him to get away from you, it's pretty damn difficult. Now watch our legs. Now stretch them out. And it's from these positions that when he tries to get away from us, it's very, very difficult. Now we get a grip on our training partner, and you're so much closer to him that no athleticism is required. It's not like a duck under, we got to spring up off the floor. You just maneuver behind him. So from a situation where we lock in here, when he goes to pull away from you, the katagatame is very, very tight. When he goes to stand up, it's tough. You're hanging off his head. And then from here, we start maneuvering in behind him. When your chest to back. So let's look at all that again. Training partner's on top of us in the mounted position. Got our hands in our training partner's hips. He's tight on us. Tight. We start off just in like so. Now, when we hit that duck, we move just far enough that we can take our two hands and lock. But we're not going to come up off the floor. That requires a little more athleticism. When he tries to pull away from us, we just lock palm to palm. Now we start that action of turning out to the side. That's from here. We can realistically come in behind this guy and get to his back. Okay? So again, you're beating his elbow to get to the back, but you're using a katagatame action instead of a duck under. These are all very realistic ways to get your opponent's back out of a kipping escape. The magic of these moves is that you go from being 100% defensive to 100% offensive in a very short time frame. As I said earlier, psychologically, this is the best thing that can ever happen for you. It'll take your spirits, which are often down when you're in a bad position, and quickly elevate them. And perhaps more importantly, it'll take your opponent's spirits, which were previously very high as they thought they were winning, to absolute despondency as they go from a great situation to a terrible situation, and they no longer feel they're in control of the dynamics of the match. They literally had the best position in the sport, and 4 seconds later, they had the worst position in the sport. That's a crushing thing for your opponents to have to deal with psychologically. Don't be happy with just getting out of bad position. Go the extra distance. Get out of bad position and look for your opponent's back.